So it's my pleasure to be able to introduce to you Richard Paul, the Research Director of the Foundation for Critical Thinking.
Thank you, Gerald. It's a pleasure to be here as always and to see the fruit of another year's work. As Gerald has suggested, the theme of the keynote might be called Critical Thinking, a Map of the Field. Another possible way it could have been titled is Critical Thinking, Transcending the Chaos. Because there are many hundreds, maybe even thousands of voices out there articulating concerns about critical thinking and thinking of our students. I have in hand here a book titled Frameworks for Thinking that covers 44 different conceptions of how to approach thinking in the classroom. And this is put together by 6 British scholars who say in their introduction that they went through a mountain of literature. Well, most people can't go through a mountain of literature, and even if they did, they wouldn't know exactly how to interface or assess individual recommendations within that mountain of literature. So I want to give you a map of critical thinking, of the field of critical thinking, and I want to emphasize the word a. Not the map, but a map, because there's always another way. There's always another angle that sheds light or highlights something that is thrown in the background by another way of looking at things. And let me first look with you at the whole and make a brief comment about each part of the whole, and then I'll go in a little more depth. Notice on the far right the concept of critical thinking. We must have a simple and clear concept of critical thinking in order to teach for it, and I'll get into that. But there's more than just having a concept of critical thinking. We need to know a little bit about where we are personally with the concept. Your personal history, your personal growth as a thinker is something that I think is worth thinking about and coming to terms with. As I've thought through my own intellectual life, I see stages that I went through. To some extent, I sometimes see them as removing albatrosses around my neck, or chains that hold me down, throwing off one chain, then throwing off another chain. But I've noticed that when I've thrown off a chain, it's usually taken me 5 to 10 years to do that, in which I go up and back thinking that it's not a chain, it's an enhancement. It's correct. And so, thinking about your life, I think this would be a good time during this conference to begin to tell your story to yourself and maybe to your colleagues, so you can show where you are in this process. How many chains you've thrown off, or how many chains are still holding you down. But our personal history should always be cast in a bigger picture, which is the history of critical thinking itself. We need to be conscious of critical thinking in the world, as well as the opposite of critical thinking in the world. Think of 2 variables, force and reason. One kind of critical thinking, the kind that we identify with, says force should be subordinate to reason. Reason should rule. Reason, evidence, good thinking. They should rule not force, not power. But if we look at the history of humankind from, say, the third millennium to the present, you see war, conflict, domination, small groups of people controlling masses called oligarchies, many different empires replacing the previous empires, always imposing on the masses, always oppressing the guy at the bottom, the gal at the bottom, to the benefit of a few. We, in the United States, think of ourselves as living in a democracy, the rule of the people. But we might be well advised to think of a competing system called plutocracy, which is the rule of the wealthy. Democracy says government of the people, by the people, for the people. That's what you want. Plutocracy says, not really. Rather, government of the wealthy, by the wealthy, for the wealthy. Now, which are we? Or are we a democratic plutocracy or a plutocratic democracy? Which side of the equation is ruling? Is it force or reason? Each of us, of course, have to come to our own conclusions about it. But that history matters. It's a backdrop that enables us to take perspective. Then look at the center of the chart now for a minute. We should be aware of the pervasiveness of thought, manifestations of thought in human life. Right now, you are thinking. As you go through your day, you will be thinking. As you drive home, you will be thinking. At every moment in your life, you're thinking. You are a member of the thinking species, Homo sapiens. But you're not a member of the species Homo criticus sapiens, the critical thinking animal. And guess what? There is no such species. There may be in the future, evolution may take us to the point where we routinely help everyone to think critically as a birthright, as something that we owe to every citizen. But now we engage in what is best called indoctrination, socialization, training.